folks, and welcome back here to Gatekeeper Media as we continue to bring you coverage of the 2022 Portland Open. And as we pivot to our second round out to Blue Lake, we also pivot over to some chase card coverage. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. We'd like to give a special thank you to our Patreon supporters who help make all of this coverage possible. My name is Dustin Mouret, and I'll once again be bringing you the commentary for this wonderful chase card we have out in front of us here as we take on Blue Lake one last time before pivoting over to Glendoveer. Leading things off, we have Paul McBeth. Albert Tamm returns from our feature card, and we have Noah Fiveash and James Proctor rounding things out. At the start of things, 12 under was the hot round from Isaac Robertson, with Simon Lizotte using that momentum from OTB Open to propel himself onto the lead card, as well as Garrett Gerthy and Joel Freeman. As we kick things off, take a look at Paul McBeth's bag, obviously known for the Lunas, his signature putter. Also, I feel like really known for that titanium undertaker he'd like to throw, which we could see on some of these more tight lines, but also, of course, throws the Onyx, Zeus's, and Forces. Of course, Albert Tamm, again, a little bit unique with the shield. Not too many people seem to putt that. Of course, also can throw the Explorers and Pioneers, but also certainly known for those Ballista Pros and some other understable molds from Trilogy. And we take a look at Noah Fiveash here, throwing from Gateway, so putting the Wizards, known for that element and the Prophecy, and also likes to throw some Assassins, Ninja, and also has a few Destroyers in the bag. So we got James Proctor here, playing for Innova, of course known for various Aviar molds in the Toro, as well as some Rocks in the Gator, and then of course has some Firebirds and Destroyers in the bag that I'm sure we will see out and about as well out on the course. So we get over to hole one. You start off with quite a difficult hole. To get a birdie on this one, you have to lay down a perfect roller or be able to hit a putt from maybe just inside circle two or just out of it. It's definitely a hole that requires a very precise roller. It's such a low ceiling. That's really the only way to attack the pin. Otherwise, you're settling for a 3.
First up on the tee pad, sponsored by Discraft. Let's give it up to Paul McBeth.
That is an interesting sweatsuit for our announcer as we get to Paul McBeth, of course, a man that needs really no introduction, a 5-time world champion, currently 5th in the UDIS World Rankings. Started strong this year with wins at the Memorial in Waco, was a runner-up at Jonesboro, and of course had that crazy 16 under final round at our first major to place in the top 10.
Go, Paul.
That was a record over at WR Jackson. Says he's looking revitalized for the second half of the season. Lays down a pretty solid roller. Get himself up near circle 2 on that left-hand side of the fairway.
Next on the tee, he's sponsored by Latitude 64. Let's put your hands together for Albert Tamm.
And there he is, the bazooka himself out of Estonia. Our 2022 Open at Tallahassee champion. Also has placed within the top 30 at Waco Masters Cup and the OTB Open. Had a fantastic opening round here on the feature card at Gatekeeper. Finds himself in that tie for 5th with Paul McBeth, as well as Noah Fiveash. Oh, puts the roller right through that little gap. Starting to drift towards that right-hand side OB, but let's stay in. We did go OB in the opening round, so it makes the correction.
Next on the tee, he's sponsored by Gateway Disc Sports. Give it up for Noah Fiveash.
And Noah been playing MPO since 2019, has 4 MPO wins. Did play a couple of tournaments back in 2020. He was near the top 30 at Masters Cup and has been in the cash at Music City Open and the OTB Open. Cool to see him here in a new spotlight. Roller gets hung up there on that left-hand side. A lot of work to do.
And last on the box, he's sponsored by Innova Champion Discs. Let's put your hands together for James Proctor.
And Proctor's a guy who's been around for quite some time. In 2021, he placed 15th at the OTB Open and 9th here in Portland. Had several top 30 or better finishes at Worlds over the years. Top 30 at LVC this year. Has 37 career MPO wins since 2011 and is a national collegiate champion individually in 2015. And his disc, too, going to get caught up on that left-hand side, similar to Noah. So Noah will be first to act here. Again, lots of ground to cover and a very low ceiling, the challenge. So that'll skate outside the circle. Move over to James Proctor. He's looking like he wants to favor the flick. Has a couple of gaps out in front of him to try to approach the pin. Chooses to center gap, and it looks like it's tracking towards the basket. And oh my goodness, he puts it in. Oh, that's something special. As he'll get a couple of high fives from the card. Well earned at that. As I make it kind of a habit not to really follow the coverage, I know I'm going to commentate. So did not know that was coming at all. That is a, let me look at this, 280-foot throw-in, and that is one way to get a rare birdie on this hole. It's definitely going to be one of shots of the tournament, even though we're only 2 rounds into 4 in play. Wow. That'll get your blood flowing. Tamm, little stepper layup there to secure a par, and this was playing as the 3rd most difficult hole of the day. Played .35 strokes over par, as we'll see if McBeth can also connect on a birdie. And a little wide right. Here's Noah after tricky approach, trying to see if he can save par. And that's going to be a little left. So it looks like a 4 to open things up for Noah. McBeth with the par. Tamm should be able to do the same, as there was only 3 birdies on the day. Of course, we saw one of them there from Proctor. It was Cole Allen and Alden Harris who found the other 2. Cole having a 60-footer to get his birdie, and Alden actually able to get in circle 1 off the tee, which is pretty rare to do on this hole, so shout out to him. So we see our card clean up. Now we get to hole 2, a 425-foot par 3. There is a Mando on the right-hand side, which prevents the big hyzer backhand for a right-handed player over the road, which is, of course, OB. Also OB on the left-hand side in the tall grass. And this requires a nice left-to-right moving shot. If you have a forehand that can push 400 or so feet, then that is certainly a great play. Otherwise, usually you will see a backhand turnover. It really just comes down to what the player feels most comfortable with. Pretty open hole, though. Not too much trouble to get into. So, of course, Proctor takes the box after a huge shot. Playing that backhand turnover. Looks to put a good move on that. And that'll get right there just outside circle 1. Worth noting, I was hearing from the coverage crew from Gatekeeper that it was kind of on and off rain all day, including throughout the course of this round. So definitely some wet tee pads and definitely caused some slips. It looks like McBeth did have a little slip there, but still managed to get off a good forehand for the most part. Just comes up a bit shorter than he expected. Of course, Tamm certainly has the forehand distance to get to the pin, as we saw in the opening round and just throughout his career. Well, he needs to get that one back in, and yeah, will do so well within circle 1 there. Here's Noah looking to throw the forehand as well. Puts down the towel to help some grip. Not a bad call. And that is a brilliant forehand from Noah. That's it way on up there, pin high, off to the right-hand side of the green. So we'll take a look here at his forehand. Little hop. Just really good control over that shot. Looking to recover after a tough opening hole. McBeth comes up a little short on that one. We'll have to settle for another par here to open things up on this round as we get over to the James Proctor. And not quite 280 feet worth of birdie, but A birdie nonetheless to open up 2 down through 2. Tamm right here for birdie as well. A little low out the hand. That was just missed a couple of times in the opening day as well. Usually on point as far as being centered, but just a couple of height issues. So Noah will catch for a birdie as well. Flight fins off that bogey from the opening to the round. See a tap-ins for Tamm and McBeth to clean up the pars. We head off to our first par 4 on the course, 550 feet, so not too long. This hole is all about placement off the tee. You want to land somewhere right around here to give yourself the most open look to the pin. If you push too forward or too off to that right-hand side, it can really cut you off from approaching the green, which certainly has plenty of OB surrounding it. Also, if you go a little too inside off the tee, trying to stay in that left lane to have the open approach, you do kind of test that OB out there on the left. So just something you have to consider. Usually just going to see a big spike hyzer. And that will filter through nicely for Proctor. Should be a pretty easy up and down to open with the turkey here. Right on that left side where you want to be. See if Noah can match. Swings that out a little bit wider. Just needs to make sure it doesn't get hung up.
Oh, yeah.
Playing a little bit of Plinko, but it looks like that stayed on the left-hand side as well. So maybe a little bit of a longer approach shot than he wants, but still in the lane. Oh, yeah, beautiful shot there from McBeth. Finds that same left lane that is the ideal spot to land. Tamm found himself a little bit to the right of the ideal landing zone on our opening day. See if he can make the correction. Plays a little bit of Plinko and indeed lands more towards that left-hand side. I don't know if that tree might give him a little bit of an obstruction right in front of him, but otherwise should have a clean look at the pin. Actually, Noah found himself a little bit out of position. I thought he was on that left-hand side, but maybe a little more right than I thought. And yeah, this is those trees posing a challenge for Tamm. That forehand, though, is going to be able to... I thought it was about to break through, but actually might have found out of bounds. And yeah, it does. Right there on the mouth of the green. McBeth having a little bit better position, but a low ceiling to try to get under. And that's done well. Should be able to get his first birdie of the round now. And great positioning here for Proctor. Right in the sweet spot. He too will get right there near the edge of the circle, from what I could tell. So here's Noah. Lengthy bid for birdie here. Just kind of gives it a soft bid with the stepper. Be able to get right up near the pin for birdie, or par, excuse me. Stepper for Tamm. Just kind of getting up there, trying to limit the damage. Here's Proctor for birdie. No problem. That is going to be a turkey to open things up for James. Certainly keeping up that momentum from our opening day. So Noah looks to drop in the par. You can see McBeth right there for birdie in front of him. Tamm will unfortunately take a bogey on this one. A little bit of a cold start to the round so far. McBeth, though, finds his first score. We'll be back after a short break.
There's a better way to find out what's coming next from Dynamic Discs. Check the release calendar at dynamicdiscs.com and you can see all the discs releasing soon and the date they're releasing, so you don't have to keep your ear to the ground.
Now let's get back into it here. Another par 3 here for hole 4 at 295 feet. Pretty much a textbook straight shot. Usually a putter or maybe a mid. Maybe you play the slight hyzer more to the right-hand side of the fairway. The left side of the green is very close to that OB, and in general, the green really surrounds, or is surrounded by OB, but it's really that left side is the most dangerous. So you'll often see players try to play more towards the right-hand side, and oh, Proctor looking for another throw, and this time the ace type, but will come up just short, but still a pretty easy tap in for birdie, so it looks like he'll go 4 for 4. A brilliant start for Proctor. Slight turning shot as well there from McBeth. That'll kind of test that left OB just a touch, but certainly lands very safe. Should have no problem finding his bird as well. That's looking a little bit dangerous from Noah. Actually comes up just short of that OB corner, so we'll have a lengthy putt, but is in bounds. Might have to straddle out or something from over there. Tamm playing that hyzer shot I'm more used to seeing, but actually carries a bit too straight. Does stay in bounds, though, from what I'm being told. As we see Noah here just outside the circle. A little wide right. So, be another par here for Noah. And Tamm, yeah, is in, but as you can see, having to really stretch out here from the trees. Obviously a very tough, touchy shot there, the way he was stretched out. We'll have to settle for par. Proctor and McBeth, though, pretty much parked for birdie. That's 4 for 4 for James Proctor. Put himself in 4th position now. And McBeth will now go back-to-back in his own right, keeping himself in 5th position. This was one of the easier holes on the course on the day. Played .35 strokes under par, with 45% of the field finding the birdie and 46% finding the par. Pretty routine for the bulk of our players. Let's do the rest clean up. Get to another par 4 here. This one 575 feet. And similar to hole number 3, it's really more about placement than distance off of this tee. You'd like to have a slight left to right moving shot to kind of set up the approach you see here. The closer you can get to that OB line on the left, the easier your shot's going to be, but the more you test it out of bounds. But really, if you can land anywhere near where we're at right now, you set yourself up for an ideal approach shot. The OB comes in a little bit more tight on the left side of the green, so aiming more on the right-hand side of the fairway on your approach is typically the approach you'll see players take with some type of backhand. But you can see big forehands off the tee for placement, or backhand turnover also works. James Proctor will be eyeing up the forehands. And that should be in a pretty good position. Anywhere just past that little kind of candy cane looking thing you see on the screen is usually a pretty good spot to be. I would say the more shallow you are off the tee, though, the more you have to kind of challenge that slope to approach the pin. So pushing as forward as you can without bringing the OB into play is ideal. That shot will make it right there on the bottom of that slope. Noah plays the flick as well. Finds himself more on top the slope, so might have a trickier approach to the pin. Great looking shot there from Tamm. Pushes into a great position from what I can tell. Yeah, and this is really the trouble. If you come up shallow, this is a little bit trickier to approach the pin. But still doable. It's a nice backhand turnover right into the circle there from Proctor. Similar shot here for Tamm, but a little bit more forward. And that'll do just fine from Tamm. See what McBeth has here. He's kind of closer to the top of the slope. Might cause for some awkward footing. Either way, seems like he's executed that just fine. Just inside the circle. And this one's a little trickier. Again, the footing going to be a little bit worse as he's playing on the slope. Actually kind of having to play the forehand out. But this looks good. And yeah, that'll do. Everyone here having a circle one putt for birdie. Furthest out is Proctor here, probably around 25 to 28 feet. Cans it nonetheless. That's 5 for 5 for Proctor. He is on a heater right now. Puts himself now tied for the podium. Putt as well from McBeth to find himself an early turkey here in the second round. See if Tamm can connect here. Gonna make up for some ground he lost on hole 3. And that one will skate in. I'll put him back to even for the round. Keeps him in that top 10 mix early on here on round 2. Noah as well finding the birdie. Now we head over to hole 6, 270-foot par 3. Have to throw over OB pretty much the entire way is really the only tricky part about this hole. And sometimes if you throw a little too low, you might get caught up. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward shot. Usually very scoreable hole. You usually see a lot of birdies on this one. Again, really the only mistake you can make is maybe just getting a little too low over the right-hand side OB and getting caught up on one of these trees if you go a little too wide right. That is dead center the whole way from Proctor. Hits the koozie. Beautiful shot from James. He, again, is just in fine form right now. Just showing Proctor just a nice, smooth, steady backhand here. All the timing that you'd expect from the ideal backhand come into play there for James as he parks it. So we are going to see McBeth put one up there as well. And there is plenty of room out to that left-hand side, so if you leak a little bit over there, it's no problem. The only OB you have to worry about is if you come up short. Spike hyzer play here from Noah. Oh, hits Dakuzi himself. Almost hits the pan. So far, so good for our card here. Tamm 2 eyeing that Spike hyzer play out wide. And he too will put it well within the circle. So he'll be the first to putt here. Looking to go 2 in a row and get under par for the round. Oh, just bounces it in. A little bit scary there for a second, but finds it nonetheless. Now we'll now get him to 1 under here on this front 9. McBeth looking to go 4 for 4. And that'll do just fine. Continuing a good pace here. Get up to Noah, who's looking to go back-to-back as well. Put him at 2 under on the round. Start gaining some ground back here. This coverage is brought to you by Fortnite. Be sure to tune into the Fortnite season end event on Saturday. And this comes out at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And let's get back to the coverage here. We're at hole number 7 now. It's a par 4 at 825 feet. Usually can go pretty big off the tee. It's really the second shot where the difficulty comes in, where you have some pretty narrow corridors you're going to have to punch through to get up to the green to give yourself a chance at birdie. Definitely one of the harder birdies to get on the course, but usually pretty easy to par it. Again, this really all comes down to getting a good distance off the tee early and then getting through that gap on your second shot to get up towards the green. Just Proctor first to act, as he has been since hole 2, going 6 for 6. That's a solid shot from Proctor to kick this one off. Pretty much where you want to be. Just getting through this initial gap off the tee is step 1. That's a little yanked over there. Could be in some trouble. Actually gets a bounce back into the center of the fairway, but definitely limits his progress. Gonna make it a lot tougher to birdie from there. Gonna have to get a lot of distance on that second shot. And a couple of branches will slow that down a smidge, but still make some pretty good progress up the fairway off to that left-hand side. Just needs to get left away from that tree, and it does. It's well up the fairway also. There's a pretty good amount of space on this fairway. Don't really see that OB really come into play too much on that left-hand side. McBeth puts a good move on this disc. That's as much progress as he really could, but just had so little off the tee that it was going to be pretty impossible to get up to circle one from where he was. Oh, and that catches a tree, and that does kick OB left. An unfortunate break for Noah. So now make it over to Proctor, looking to try to go 7 for 7 to kick off this round. Not quite sure where that landed. Blocked by this tree here, but we'll see what kind of putt he has once we get up there. Big hyzer forehand here from Tamm, trying to get up to the green. And he will make it well on up there. As we get to Noah now, throwing 4, trying to limit the damage. Trying to get up and down to get that bogey, or maybe skip one in for par. It certainly had a chance. They'll rest up there near the pin. McBeth. He was trying to give it a chance with that jumper. Nonetheless, makes it up to the green to get the par. Yeah, Proctor did get caught up there, so just has to pitch up for his par as well. So Tamm to be our solo birdie on the card for hole number 7. Just was playing 0.2 strokes over par. 7th in difficulty, but Tamm able to capitalize for a turkey here in the whole 5 through 7 stretch. Only 12% of the field finding the birdie. Back and Proctor will settle for par. Noah going to take a slight blemish here on this one. Cleans up. We start nearing the end of our front 9 here. We're on hole number 8 now. Kind of an island green, so to speak, off of the tee. Usually you're going to see some type of left to right moving shot off the tee, either the forehand or the backhand turnover. This one a little bit more accessible for the forehand. Even if you don't have the distance forehand, 315 feet's right around where most people are going to feel pretty comfortable attacking it. So I expect to see a lot of flicks off the tee for this one. OB does come in a little bit tight on the right-hand side of the basket, but other than that, pretty straightforward. Just going to probably see some of those forehands swung out pretty wide to stay away from that right-hand side OB once you get up there. A soaring forehand there from Tamm. It's a nice skip and roll, though, towards the pin and stays away from that OB. Lengthy putt, though. Proctor put a pretty good move on that. And yeah, that goes up there and does settle down before that OB on the right-hand side. Should be in or very near circle one for that putt. And that might challenge that right-hand side OB by the green. Needs to get down. And yeah, that will fall out. Not sure what mark they'll give him there. So not sure if he'll be able to save par. Just depends on what lie he gets. This is a good-looking shot from Noah. Just needs to get down. Oh, gets up and starts to roll and does find the out of bounds just barely. Another tough break there for Noah. That was very close. Tamm here, trying to get his birdie. Just a little low. So here's McBeth. Able to connect on the putt there for a bogey. Noah taking his meter off the OB line has a chance to save par here, as according to the rules, the drop zone was provided as optional after any OB shot off the tee. That's where you saw McBeth throw from. Noah able to take it from up where he went out, but is going to chain out on the par save. So a little unfortunate there. And high from Proctor. Let's juice that one a bit. Hits the top band, and after a big birdie streak to kick off the round and a par on hole 7, he will take his first blemish here. We're going to see Tamm tap in his par. Bogey for Noah. And actually just another par for Proctor. Off on that one, my mistake. So still no blemishes on his scorecards. We get the hole 9. Another par 4 at 515 feet. A very oddly shaped fairway, though. Usually just going to see a big hyzer shot out towards that kind of house you saw there in the background off the tee. Landing in a pretty big center landing zone and then just pitching up for your birdie. Not going to see anything too crazy, but this is probably one of the easiest holes on the course, if not the easiest. It usually does play that way. Again, it's all about placement, not distance. This is a very short par 4. So should see plenty of birdies on this one. Tamm first to act. Playing that hyzer out to the house in the background as mentioned. Yep, and that lands just fine, and I imagine you're going to be seeing a lot of disc near that area from this card. That's really all you're looking for off the tee on this one. A little bit wider there from Proctor, but again, there's plenty of space over there to land in. So it's even more center cut. A little lower from McBeth, but still going to get plenty of distance and skip up there, so no problems. It's really the only trouble you can get into off the tee is if you somehow get caught in that OB tree bunker kind of just off the center of the tee that you kind of see there, that's in your screen, but usually everyone just kind of swings wide right of it and doesn't really come into play. As Noah gets up there just fine as well, so everyone in good position to approach this pin. Birdie textbook up shot to get your birdie on this one from here. So McBeth rest up there nicely. Rest of the card looking to follow suit. This did play as the easiest hole on the day. 0.73 strokes under par with 82% of the field found on the birdie. Round 1 was also the easiest hole, playing even easier, 86% of the field found on the birdie, so only slightly more difficult on day 2. Is Tamm able to get up there as well? Nicely done there also from Proctor.
Oh.
Now Noah the furthest of all, just a little forehand up there. And that is on the wood chips right next to the pole, so a very stress-free birdie there, and really stress-free for really the whole card. Bit of a putt for McBeth, but landed nonetheless. So into his front 9, 4 under, tied for 5th. Tamm able to connect here on another birdie on hole 9. That puts him to 3 under so far this round and in 7th position. Proctor still tied up on the podium after such a hot start on the opening 6 holes, and just a couple of pars there, but a clean card nonetheless on the front 9, and Noah hanging around the top 10 with a final birdie there on the front 9. Take a look at these results. You can see James Proctor is hot out the gates, really challenging for that top 3 position going into moving day over at Glendoveer. The rest of our card also still very much in the mix. So far, Simon Lizotte leading things. Again, keeping that momentum from the OTB Open at the top of Isaac Robertson, Garrett Gerthy, and of course James Proctor here up in those top 3 positions. Again, thank you so much for tuning into the coverage, and a special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who help make this coverage possible. Of course, we got future tournaments coming throughout the year as well. Also, if you want to give me a follow, I'm Dustin Mouret. It's Follow Dust on Instagram and Twitter, as well as Dustin Disc on YouTube. Again, thank you so much, and see you shortly for the back 9.